She's here for the second time. Halle from Whole Foods Plant-Based Me. She is going to show us how to do Tofu Scramble. She cooks whole foods with very little or no oil. She also has a new guide coming out that has grocery lists and a whole cooking course on how to eat whole foods, plant-based, and little to no oil. So it's really exciting, and please enjoy this demo. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi everybody, you guys having a good time today? Yeah! So glad to hear. My name is Halle. As she just said, my company is WFPB Me, which stands for Whole Foods Plant-Based Me. I currently live in Philadelphia with my partner Joey and our adorable plant-based puppy Lemon. She's running around here somewhere today. We are actually from here, Lancaster County, born and raised, went to Cocalico High School. And now we love to come back here and give back to our community. So very excited and honored to be here today. As some of you may or may not know, in 2018, my mom suddenly died from the very worst heart attack that she ever had. She was 49 years old. It was just a few weeks after her 49th birthday, actually. We had no warning signs, and so this came as a huge shock, and I was only 23 at the time. I just graduated college, and I knew heart disease ran in my family, and I knew like the generic advice that you would get about that, but I just really didn't know where to go from here, and just very confused and not hopeful about life going forward. And thankfully in 2019, we found Whole Food Plant-Based Nutrition through a whole bunch of documentaries, and which I'm sure you guys have watched so many of them if you're here. But so many of the documentaries led us to this lifestyle where we've completely transformed our lives and so many of our friends and family as well. I've seen just so many miracles happen in the last couple of years, so I'm so excited to be here to share this information with you. My goal every day is to eat as many plants as possible, as many whole plant foods as possible. So today I'm just going to be showing you how to make a plant-packed, oil-free tofu veggie scramble. So let's get into it. So one of the first things with oil-free cooking, I feel like that I do differently than a lot of people, is that a lot of times people say that you should turn up your pan to as hot as possible so that when you put the water on, it's like bouncing around. I always end up burning things when I do that, so I like to keep it on medium to medium-low heat. So that's what I put it on right now. It's on like a medium-low. And I'm just gonna pour a little bit of water into my pan to start off. Just like a few splashes. And we're gonna start off with putting some chopped red onion in here. I do red onion specifically because red onion just has a lot more antioxidants than like your white onion, your sweet onion, the Vidalia onions. I don't know what that is. So I'm just throwing those right in there, and then after that I come in with some bell peppers. So the bell peppers that I love to use are the colorful ones, so like the orange and the red and the green, the orange, the red, and the yellow. I think the green ones have like more of a bitter taste, so I just do the colorful ones. One thing about green bell peppers, if you're okay, hello. Okay, here we go. All right, this is my partner Joey that I was talking about. Thank you so much for having me. So this with red bell peppers and orange bell peppers and yellow bell peppers, the cool thing about green bell peppers is they're just not ripe red bell peppers, so you're still getting all the same properties in there. A cool thing too about bell peppers is they actually have more vitamin C than like the typical things that you would think about with vitamin C, like all of your citrus fruits and stuff like that. Bell peppers actually have way more in it. So if you're looking to add more vitamin C or looking to brighten and tighten your skin, eat bell peppers as much as you can. Next up we have shiitake mushrooms. And something with my shiitake mushrooms that I like to do, and just with mushrooms in general, and just any food that people sometimes are a little weird about eating, I think as long as you chop them up really small that is the best way that you can't even tell that they're in there if you don't like that food. So that's a good thing. A good way to get yourself to start eating foods that you're not used to is just chop them up really small, and then all of the herbs and spices, that flavor really sinks into there. So my next ingredient, this is another one that I did not eat when I first started, is beets. I know beets are so great for us. So these are actually gold beets. Not sure if you've ever had them before. Gold beets are, yes, okay, yes, we love gold beets. They have just like a more mild taste compared to the red ones. They're not as strong, and I think it can kind of soak up flavor a little bit more. So I'm just gonna throw those in there. And again, with these beets, I'm chopping them up small. These are cubed here, very small little cubes. I also keep the skin on. I keep the skin on almost everything that I'm cooking or eating. There are so many extra nutrients in our skin that we end up missing out on. So it's definitely, you don't even have to peel anything. It saves time and gives you a couple extra nutrients. So I'm just taking my spatula and just making sure that everything is evenly distributed onto my pan. I also, since I'm cooking oil-free, I like to push everything towards the center. When you keep all of the heat kind of contained into the center of the pan, that helps the water from drying out, and then you really don't need the oil. And if you do ever feel like the water is drying out, keep that over here. If you ever feel like the water is drying out, you can just add more. So we're still looking pretty good here, but I'm just gonna add just a little bit. They're really the same thing, but I just like the little extra flavor that they come in. And I think too, when tomatoes aren't in season, the grape tomatoes are a lot better than just trying to get like a big tomato that looks like light red on the inside. You don't really want to eat it. So grape tomatoes are normally fresher. So I'm just taking a handful of these, and when I am cutting tomatoes, I like to, and this is something that I use for my salads and everything too. When I'm cutting tomatoes, I start with the tip of my knife. That way the tomato doesn't like spread and spray everywhere. So I'm just gonna kind of like puncture it and then slide my knife through. And I just do 2 chops of it, so it's like kind of cut into 4. I would love to do that. Whoever said they want me to come and cook with them at their house, you can set that up. Something that's awesome about tomatoes that is actually something that is more common than you would think. Everybody thinks that the raw version of fruit or vegetable is the best way to eat it. But actually, like things like tomatoes and kale and a couple of other greens, there is more, your body can access more of the nutrients once you cook it. So like lycopene is a really, really great anti-cancer property that we get when we eat tomatoes. And that is more readily available for us when the tomatoes are cooked. So raw fruits and vegetables are amazing, but so are cooked fruits and vegetables. Don't count them out. And now I'm going to come in with my tofu. So our tofu this is extra firm. This is actually super firm tofu that I have right here. So I don't have to press the water out at all. But and you really don't have to press the water out when you're doing tofu scramble. I might press it out a little bit when I'm doing, if I use like just firm tofu. But other than that, it's fine. So I am just going to, when I do this, I think the biggest difference with my tofu scramble than a lot of other people's is that I don't like to make my tofu into cubes. I like to make sure that the flavor can get all the way to the inside, so it's not just like a cube with a lot of flavor on the outside and then just some like bland little thing in the middle. So I just take my tofu and I kind of make these like thick slices, and then I just take my hands and I crumble it. I'm just kind of like picking pieces off of there and just throwing it right into my pan. And this is honestly like kind of like a therapeutic, fun thing. It's like playing with Play-Doh and just, you really get to get your hands in there and everything. So I'm just doing this. And the cool thing about when you add like ridges to tofu, a lot of the spices and seasonings and the flavor can stick onto it so much more. I think that is one of the key factors as to why we love my tofu scramble so much. And you can do this one block at like one strip at a time, or you can take all 4 of these strips and just start crumbling in there. The big thing though is that you just don't want to have these huge chunks of tofu. As long as you can make it smaller, I don't know if you can see, I'm kind of like this size, just kind of like a little nub. But we're just throwing those in there. I'm going to now put my seasonings on. Garlic powder to start. And I actually use garlic granules instead of garlic powder. I think the granules just kind of distribute better over all of the food. I love garlic, so I'm always putting a nice heavy hand on there. I am never measuring my spices. You'll see on my website, it's just like a light layer, a medium layer, or a heavy layer. Because my mom, my grandma, nobody ever had measuring spoons and things like that, so I'm just doing what they did too. So after the garlic is on, I like to come in with turmeric. And turmeric is amazing for us, I'm sure you already know. And turmeric also helps make this yellow color that we're looking for the tofu scramble. You don't need a ton because it does have a strong taste, but you definitely want to put enough. So I would say like a nice little medium layer. Next up, I have oregano, and you can do oregano, you can do thyme, you can do rosemary. This is really, this recipe is very versatile, and it'll come out delicious no matter what you do. So I'm putting a nice layer of oregano on there. And then next I'm following up with nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is, I know, a vegan's favorite. So, always, yes, nooch. Gotta put that in there all the time. So, always nooch. I personally like the Bragg's kind because that has the B12 fortified in there. So, still gotta take our B12 supplements, but it's nice to have that little extra punch in there. Next up is probably the main flavor of this, which would be cumin. So, cumin, for those of you that don't know, is that like taco flavor. And I almost always, no matter what cumin I have, you always have to hit the top. So I'm putting a nice layer of that. Can you guys start to, are you guys smelling? Yes, smell good. And last, also, I almost forgot, with the turmeric. Hand in hand with turmeric goes fresh cracked black pepper. I say fresh cracked because I heard a doctor say that it's better that way instead of just regular pepper, but any type of black pepper that you can add on with the turmeric, it actually activates the turmeric and makes it so much more available to our body to use. So definitely add in black pepper whenever you're doing turmeric. And the very last ingredient that I'm going to put in for right now is smoked paprika. You can do any type of paprika, but smoked paprika is my fave and my family's fave, my friend's fave, so we love that one. So now that all of these seasonings are in here, I am just going to add a little swig of water, and I'm going to start to add my greens in here. So you can use any type of dark leafy green. I sometimes use dandelion greens. I sometimes use spinach. I sometimes use arugula. It's really just kind of like whatever I have in here. Bok choy sometimes, red kale, cabbage. You can really put any type of green in here. You can put multiple different types of greens in here. But today I have kale. So when I'm cutting kale, I did want to show you this. So I like to take the stem in my hand and I just slide it right off. And so I'm just going to put 2 of these in here. And again, that's just a quick slide. The fresher the kale is, the better it slides off. And something when you're learning to cook with kale, I'm sure you're gonna see people saying, oh, you have to massage it and like do all that whole thing. When you look it up on how to massage it on the internet, it will probably tell you have to like coat it in oil and put it in a bowl and do all of this extra stuff and like sing to it or something. You can really just like crumple it up in your hands. The thing with massaging kale is you're just breaking down like the fibers of it, and it just kind of makes it a little more fragrant and softer and easier to eat. It's more important to do when you're eating it raw. That just kind of makes it a little bit like easier for your salads and stuff, but you can just do this and you can do it too when you're cooking. So I made this into a nice ball, and the cool thing about greens and plants and everything is it does not matter how you chop these. So I'm just going in and I'm chopping it down. The big thing though with greens, I personally like hate when I go to a restaurant and there's like the long slimy pieces and like because they're not cutting them up small enough. So the big thing is that you just want to make sure that it's small, especially when you're getting these large leaves like this. So I'm just going in a couple of different directions, just cutting straight down. Are you starting to smell the food? Yeah, you can smell it. All right, so now we have all of this kale. And the cool thing about greens is like you can put so much into it and it really just like kind of dissolves into it and you can't even tell. So looks like I'm putting a full salad on top of here, but it'll cook down. And when I add the greens, I do like to kind of go back in with just some of those main spices just to make sure that it gets all in there. So just a little bit of garlic and maybe a little bit of cumin on top of there. You don't have to do all the other ones, but just to make sure that that spice is getting into there. I'm heavy-handed with my spices. So, the next thing is miso. So you can do miso paste. You can also use vegetable broth at this point too. Or you could do like a bouillon cube or something. But miso I have here in this container. It is a fermented food and it's basically like a bouillon cube, but like it works the same way where you just like add water to it. But miso is a fermented food, so it just adds some extra goodness for our gut diversity and our gut microbiome and things like that. There is white miso paste and red miso paste. I just get whatever is there. I always am switching back and forth between the two. Right now I have white miso paste. And they do normally have like, if you're getting it at Whole Foods, it's a lot cheaper to get like the store brand of it. And you can save yourself a solid like $10. So I'm just taking a small scoop of this. This is like a little like nub size here. And I'm going to put it into the center. And then I'm just going to pour some water. And I'm going to pour some water right on top of that. And this is one of the big things with tofu scramble. So in order to get all of that flavor on the inside, you want to be now basically boiling your tofu. So I'm adding a lot more water than what you would probably expect. And I am going to just take my spatula and mix that bouillon, mix the miso paste in there before I try to like spread it out all over everything. You just want to get that dissolved in the warm water. And once you can't see that little nub anymore, then you can just start mixing everything together. And if you guys want to come up and look to see what it looks like so far, you can definitely come check it out. See how much water we have in here and see how this is going to kind of boil down. So you see there's a decent amount of liquid there. And we're going to wait for that. We're going to wait for all of this liquid to cook down so that it gets...
Where's the plate?
Thank you.
It also looks, with all the colors, very healthy.
Yes. Yes. So right up here, she said, right up here, it looks so healthy because of all of the colors, and that is one of the best things about full food plant-based eating. And one of your best rules of thumb to eating more plants is just make your plate and make your dish as colorful as possible. Right. I've never had to. Oh, okay. Well, this would be a good day for you.
You don't want to cut a lid over it?
So, okay, I just got asked if I normally put a lid over it. Sometimes I do if I am trying to cook it fast, if I'm like short on time, but honestly, I don't normally. I just keep it on this medium setting and let it cook down. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are coming up here. Checking it, my house. Yes. So you see there's definitely like a decent amount of liquid in there, which actually we're just going to put the rest of this in here. And we're going to cook it down so that all of this liquid basically disappears. Thank you.
Right?
Check it out. Very colorful. So the next ingredient that I'm going to put in here is chickpeas. You can do any type of beans. I love chickpeas, and I just love adding beans to like everything. If I can put beans in it, I will. Which beans go with like everything, so you can put them in. Garbanzo beans, chickpeas, that's what these are. They are actually really high in antioxidants. So like the highest antioxidant bean. So this was a half a can that I just put in here. And when I am doing canned beans, I like to make sure that I'm draining and rinsing them off, like in like a colander or something like that, and then putting them in. So I'm not going to fully mix the beans in. I'm just going to kind of let them sit on top. And we are still on medium heat. Are there any questions right now before I move on? Any other questions right now before I move on? Yes. Yes, so right now I did use garlic granules today, but I do use fresh garlic as well. Fresh garlic is preferred. I just didn't feel like cutting it up. But yes, I actually do typically use fresh garlic in there. And when I do use the garlic though, I don't put the garlic in first, because when you're cooking it down so much, you can, one, have the chance of burning it so it wouldn't taste as well. But you could also, you lose some of like the nutrients and like the amazing healing properties that garlic has for us if you start cooking it right away on that high heat. So normally when I'm adding garlic into it, like fresh garlic, I might put it in at this stage, or when I'm doing like the other spices and things. Such a great question, thank you. So we're just gonna let this cook down here a little bit more. If anybody else wanted to come check this out right now before we move on to the next step, you definitely can. Yeah. So one of my favorite ways to eat this, so I do tofu scramble for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's such a great thing to like meal prep or batch cook, however you want to do it. You can freeze it too if you like are not going to eat it all like in a week. But I like to do like bowls with them. So I have some things that I put in my bowls that I want to show you. So I like to start off with putting my greens in here, which, yes, we already added some cooked greens, but now we're going to add some raw greens. You really just can't get enough greens. So this is arugula here. Arugula is delicious, and these, cute little, these leaves like this. Arugula does have like its own little extra flavor, so they're like really one of my favorite greens. So I'm just going to take a handful of these and stick them on the bottom. And then I have, this container has quinoa, barley, and buckwheat in them. These are all whole grains. There's so many more whole grains out there than like quinoa and brown rice. So and they all cook the same. So really just whatever you see in your grocery store, don't be shy and just grab it. I cook these in my rice cooker. The only thing that I do differently from like, aside from like white rice, is that I just add like, so instead of doing a cup of water to a cup of rice, I'll do a cup and a half of water and then to the cup of whatever the whole grain is. That just, the extra water just kind of helps it get a little fluffier so it's not so dry. So again, this is quinoa, buckwheat, and barley, and you guys are more than welcome to come up here and look at what that is. There's so many whole grains out there. There's like millet and I'm blanking right now. There's a lot. So I like to put a decent amount of that in. And something I do want to mention too with these whole grains and just grains in general, even if you do just have white rice, like diet culture has made us fear carbs and rice and pasta and just all of these things that help us stay full. And our bodies really run, our energy runs off of carbohydrates, our brain runs off of that. So we need to be eating these and it helps us stay fuller longer. So even if you have white rice, that is so much better than just not eating anything in general. And like, even if you have like, if it's white noodles, like still eat it. It's so good for you and it's gonna help you get all of these extra fruits and vegetables into you when you're eating it with it. So the next thing that I like to put on is roasted sweet potatoes. And I also made these oil-free. So a cool thing about with oil-free cooking, so you can do literally anything. But I just put parchment paper down on a sheet pan. Also, if you are trying to get like more of like the caramely, like caramelized, nice and juicy sweet potatoes, put them in a pan that is like, that has like the sides on it and maybe like a little smaller, like sometimes I'll cook them in like a bread pan or something like that, or just some sort of like baking dish. But you just want to make sure you put parchment paper on the inside, on the bottom, and then that'll keep all of the juices in there. I was very worried about roasting vegetables for the first time without oil. I was like, oh, we're gonna be dry, it's gonna be gross, but surprisingly that's just not what happens. So, and if you do want to put like any herbs and spices on there, just spray a little bit of water, put a little couple of drops of water in there, and then it'll still stick. So I like to put my sweet potatoes in here. And I also leave the skins on for these sweet potatoes. I'm not taking the skins off for like anything. Our tofu scramble is cooking down. It looks so good. The water's starting to thicken up, which you will see happen. It just kind of happens over time as everything cooks together. Again, there is still probably a more surprising amount of water in here. This would be a great time if you guys didn't get to look at it yet. This is an awesome time to come up and check it out. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them too. Some other things that I like to put into my tofu scramble is like broccoli and cauliflower and, oh, you can look up, you can get closer. Broccoli and cauliflower and turnips and parsnips. You know, it just, you can really put in asparagus, anything that you have on hand. It is so good in here. Just make sure that you chop it small and it'll blend right in. So something else, another way that I like to make tofu scramble is in like a wrap or like a taco version. So I brought some of these. These are whole wheat tortillas. I was a little worried about eating whole wheat tortillas when I switched over to this lifestyle, but especially when you have all of this incredible goodness on the inside, you don't even realize what it's wrapped in. But we do still use the white ones too. As I said, you know, it's just another way for you to get vegetables in there, and if you're doing that, that's what we want. So, oh, I forgot to tell you about the avocado. So I like to put avocados on the tops of basically everything. Avocado goes so good just with any type of bowl that you're making, any type of salad, any type of burrito, taco, anything. It just adds that like creaminess factor to it without having the cheese and the sour cream and all of that dairy. So when I'm chopping avocados, and I did this very specifically because a couple of years ago, my family knows. A couple of years ago, we were on vacation and I was chopping avocados and I was trying to take the pit out with the knife, as you do, and I sliced right through my fingers. It was like the second day of vacation too, so my hand was wrapped like the whole rest of vacation. Thank God my sister-in-law is a nurse and she took care of me. But it was not good, and it was all because of an avocado. So when you're doing avocados, I found a different way to open them. So I'm still using the knife to open it up. You're just going to kind of go around the pit that's on the inside there. Then you can give it a little twist, and you have your beautiful green avocado. So to take this pit out of here, instead of just sticking your knife in it and trying to twist it and doing all that stuff, you just have to take your thumb and start pushing from the back. And oh, this one's a little less ripe, but it pops right out. If they're like super ripe and like ready, it will just take a little quick push of your thumb, but you don't have to do all of that other stuff. I wish I would have known that before. So I'm also, when I'm doing avocado, I like to kind of cut it inside of its shell. And when I'm scooping it out, the one thing about avocados is the outsides of it, like the part that's closest to the shell, is the best for us. So that dark green area of it, you want to make sure that you're really still scraping that whole thing out instead of just eating like the part that's right on top. So I just like to slice this a couple of times, just a little like that. And I'm going to put this on top of my bowl as well, but I'm going to wait until my tofu scramble is ready. And this tofu scramble has been cooking now, it's doing good. I'm just going to give it a little mix. And when I am mixing it, that was something that I had to learn when I was learning to cook, and especially learning to cook without oil. It's really helpful to scoop, like using your pan to scrape the bottom of your pan, just to make sure that if anything is sticking, you're getting it while there's still juices and everything like that in your pan, and then you won't even have that issue going forward once it's completely hot. You guys smelling that? So right now we have about half of the water level that we had before. If anybody wanted to check it out, you're more than welcome to. You can kind of see everything is like coming together a little bit more and fitting in the pan a little bit easier. It's all blending together. The yellow is really like popping. It's looking like scrambled eggs. But a way better kind. Another way that I like to eat this tofu scramble is on top of like avocado toast. So good with that. I get like a nice like big piece of sourdough bread. We're big sourdough bread people. And I like to toast it up and then put some avocado slices on it, or I'll like smash the avocado and spread it all on top. And then I put some of the tofu scramble on top of there. So good. Oh, so something else. So when we do our tofu, like if we're doing like crispy tofu, we still also do a quick little boiling process of it. So I'll still like rip up the tofu like how I just did, maybe a little bit more, uniform, just so that they're kind of in like that little like nuggety popcorn chicken size. And we like to, so we rip them up and then we put them into either boiling miso broth or some like boiling vegetable broth, and let that sit in there for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then you just rinse then you just drain it out. And once you put it in the oven, that just really helps to get all of those flavors. Everything like sinks into the tofu so much more, and it really helps to make the tofu like crispier and like heartier instead of like so flimsy. So boil your tofu. I've even done spring mix when I don't have spring mix. Tell everybody. Okay, so I just got an awesome question of, do I always use kale? Would I have to use kale? You don't have to use kale. As I said before, I am using arugula right here, but I also, especially with the cooking greens, I love to do collard greens. I love to do dandelion greens. I love to do bok choy. It's just kind of whatever I have on hand. My thing when I go to the grocery store is just trying to get like 1 or 2 different greens than I got the week before. So I'm just kind of always doing like a little bit of rotation so that I get oh, we're gonna get a lot more people in here.
So, okay, I'm gonna show you how I start to build my tacos and my burritos because I have a couple of tricks for those. So the biggest thing is you wanna put those raw greens that I was talking about on the bottom. That helps if you're having like any type of juicy food or anything like that, then it won't fall right through the wrap. I hate when that, like when I have a whole nice burrito and then I go to pick it up and it just falls right through. So when I'm using these, I put this right on the bottom. Maybe sometimes I'll like smash some avocado on the bottom too, just to kind of help the greens stick a little bit more. And then I'll put a little bit of some grains on here. So again, this is quinoa, barley, and buckwheat. And then I'll put some sweet potatoes on here. And then I'll also scoop some of the tofu scramble on here and put some avocado on top. So delicious. So if anybody would like to see, this is the part where I would be telling Joey like, hey, dinner's ready. We can start to get over and get ready to eat everything. This is like the kind of part that it's at. You have a little bit of water still in here, so it's not fully dried out, but there is definitely a lot less water than what you started with. So you can see when you like pull it away, like you'll start to see the pan a little bit more. I want to know. This is my nephew's approved recipe too, so I know that you guys will love this. And a really good reference point for you is just make your dishes as colorful as possible. You can see here, there's just so many colors going on here, and it really is just like the best rule of thumb for plant-based eating and just for eating more plants in general is like, you know you're doing it right if your dish looks super colorful. This is also, I would love to mention, so I also am very passionate about my dog, and I cook for my dog Lemon, and I make her tofu scramble sometimes for breakfast. The only thing that I leave out for her is the onions. The dogs can eat everything that we eat too. You definitely want to always do like a little background check of what you're eating and just make sure that you can give it to them. But my puppy loves, like she snaps on blueberries, watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew. Like she loves fruit. She has bananas every day and loves tofu, loves beans and all those kinds of things. It's like amazing as when you just feed them of course they're gonna like it. So Lemon gets tofu scramble too, and like I said, it's such an easy one to meal prep that like I can just freeze this and scoop it out. So I am going to take this and stick it right on top of my bowl. And I am a big volume eater, so like I would probably eat like 2 of these bowls if I'm being honest. But this is what that looks like with everything in there. You can definitely come up and check that out. But I like to put the avocado right on top of here. So again, I'm scooping out that bottom, like scooping out the shell of the avocado and putting it right on top. And now I know a lot of people like to put salt on top of their avocado, which more power to you, that's great. But I like to do everything bagel seasoning. This is like one of my favorites, especially with this tofu scramble. So I'm gonna just put a little bit of that on top. And I also love me some hot sauce. So I brought this hot sauce today, and I brought this hot sauce specifically because
Crystal and a couple of other ones, but they have very minimal ingredients. So the only ingredients in this is the peppers and vinegar. So this is an awesome one, Crystal Louisiana hot sauce. Just got a new one because I'm always eating it. Put it on everything. But Crystal's a great one. I really just, when I'm looking at ingredients for when I'm in the grocery store, I only look at the ingredients list. I don't pay attention to all those other numbers and all the percentages and everything like that. Everything that you need to know is right there at the bottom in the ingredients list. And I just like to go for stuff that is minimal ingredients, stuff that I understand what it is, stuff that I can recognize. So I like to just put a little bit of this hot sauce on top. You can also do cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is great for us. It's actually, if you are somebody that needs to wake up or something like that, cayenne pepper really gets your blood flowing. So it's really good to put, especially on a breakfast or something like that, to really wake you up, put a little bit of that extra spice on there. It's so good. And I didn't mention this before, but herbs and spices and seasonings, I'm very heavy with that because they're just ground up plants, and there's so many amazing properties that we can get from herbs and spices and things like that. So there's no reason to limit yourself on the flavor. It tastes great and it's even better for you. So when I am making my taco, I have this here, and I would just take a nice scoop of my tofu scramble and put it on top, and then we do another scoop of the avocado. And normally I use an entire half of an avocado when I'm doing a bowl, but we put the avocado on top and then a little bit of the everything bagel seasoning. So good. So that's what that looks like here. A very colorful taco, and surprisingly, as long as you fold it up, it'll all fit in there. So if anybody doesn't have any other questions for me, you guys are more than welcome to come up here and try it. I have some bowls here if anybody wants to taste. You can see here too that most of the liquid has dissolved and has evaporated, and nothing is sticking to my pan. This is a non-stick pan, but this is a green pan non-stick pan, so it doesn't have any Teflon in it. Non-toxic. Alright, you can bring those bowls over here.
For whole food plant-based recipes, tips, resources, and more, check out WFPBme.com.